I am Jack Carter. I am 48 years old. I have been a cybersecurity expert for 18 years. I was born and raised in Seattle. I am married and have a daughter, Lily. During my years at Novatech, I protected countless systems. I repelled attacks, prevented data breaches, and spent many sleepless nights. Those who know me know I don't talk much. I don't wear ties. I don't like ceremonies. But no one could ever question my loyalty until the morning I was called into that glass-walled office. If you're subscribed, I'll continue telling my story. The expressions on CEO Emily Grant and HR Director Mark Thompson's faces told me everything. It wasn't a decision. It was a protocol being executed. "Jack," Emily said, "our new AI systems eliminate the need for human intervention." I didn't know what to feel. There was no anger, no sadness, just emptiness. The system I had protected day and night for years was now discarding me. Emily's voice had a forced sadness to it. Not real, the same tone she used during project presentations. I returned to my desk. I looked at my computer screen one last time, but instead of touching it, I picked up my coffee mug, the one my daughter had painted with her own hands. It read, "World's Best Dad." Next to it, I placed the notebook my former teammate Luis had left behind. On its first page, he had written, "Security isn't just about code, Jack. Human character can also be encrypted." As I walked toward the elevator, the younger employees turned their heads away. Some watched in silence, others avoided looking altogether. I didn't understand. Was it fear? Guilt? I said nothing in that moment, but a thought echoed within me. Some systems don't exclude people. They exclude conscience. That day I went home. My wife, Laura, opened the door. She had a worried look on her face, but all I could say was, "I just need some rest." I was exhausted, but I wasn't resentful. More than anything, I was curious. I wondered, was it really this easy? The next morning, I went down to the garage, my space to clear my mind. Among my old files, there was a laptop, a 2009 model, rusty hinges, a slow-loading screen, but inside something was still working, a security protocol I had written. I accessed Novatech's system through a back door. It was illegal, but some truths only lived behind walls. I checked the financial records, because I knew something wasn't right. I discovered regular payments to a company called Skyline Innovations. Address, a virtual office in Oregon. Total payment, $2.8 million. Signature, CFO, David Miller. And then, another connection surfaced. Ryan Clark, David's cousin. His company, Pacific Advisory, had also received funds. The total loss? $7.5 million. I was fired because AI made me obsolete. But the system still had something AI couldn't replace: human greed. At that moment, I made my decision. This story isn't over. What about you? If a company erased you like a mere file after 18 years of loyalty, would you stay silent? Let me know in the comments. Ryan's company, Pacific Advisory, was the second act of the same scheme, disguised as a consulting firm, but in reality, nothing more than a funnel for fraudulent transactions. The invoices were fake, the services non-existent, but the money, very real. $7.5 million. With that money, Novatech could have hired dozens of interns, improved its software department, or reinforced its security systems. But instead, pockets were being lined. I encrypted the evidence, uploaded it to a folder, backed it up. But first, I needed someone I could trust, someone still fighting for integrity within the company. Sarah Lee. Sarah was one of the few honest voices left on the board. People rarely spoke about her, but those who did knew one thing: she never crossed ethical lines. I sent her a secured file with a simple message. This system is rotten. Either you clean it up now, or we all sink together. 2 days passed. No response. Every night, Laura looked at me, searching for answers I couldn't give. This wasn't just about losing my job. It was about an empire crumbling from within. On the 3rd day, I received an email. Sender, Sarah Lee. 1 sentence. We need to talk at 08 tomorrow. Do not do anything else. That night I couldn't sleep. Only one thought kept circling in my mind. Silence is the greatest accomplice to crime. At 07:59, I was at my computer. Sarah appeared on the video call, her eyes exhausted but determined. If these files are accurate, she said, Emily and David didn't just deceive the company, they deceived investors, employees, everyone. There's no doubt, I replied. Sarah took a deep breath. I've called for an emergency board meeting this morning, and I'm reaching out to the SEC. At that moment, the weight I had carried for years finally started to lift. But this wasn't a victory. This was just the beginning of the war, because the next morning, my doorbell rang. I opened it. Standing before me was David Miller. Jack, he said, his voice eerily calm, but his eyes burned with fury. End this game here. We have a good offer for you. If you accept, no one gets hurt. Just as I was about to respond, Laura appeared behind me, holding a tablet. Her gaze was unwavering. I just found Ryan's fraudulent invoice records, she said. Call your lawyer before he leaves. David's face paled. This time, he had truly hit a wall. I said nothing, because now it wasn't about words anymore. It was about proof. David left without looking back. That day was the last time I ever saw him. But the silence he left behind seeped into every corner of our home. Laura embraced me. No matter what happens next, be proud that you did the right thing, she said. Her words sank deep, so deep that for the first time, I didn't feel alone. That afternoon, a message from Sarah arrived. The meeting has begun. Stay on standby. Minutes crawled by. As I gazed out the window, I thought about the gleaming offices at the top floor of Novatech under Seattle's gray sky. They may have looked pristine, but the rot inside was no longer something that could be hidden. Then, at 3:12 p.m., every Novatech employee received the same email notification. Novatech Financial Transparency Notice. All financial transactions have been moved to a public digital ledger. The message spread like wildfire. No one fully understood what was happening at first. Young employees lifted their heads from their screens. Murmurs filled the hallways. Slack channels froze. No one spoke, but everyone felt it. An era was ending. Sarah called again. Dark circles had formed under her eyes, but her expression was resolute. All evidence has been securely uploaded. The SEC is working with us now. This is no longer just an internal matter, Jack. This is a public case. I nodded. What about Emily? I asked. She hesitated for a moment. She resigned, took a flight that evening, probably fled overseas. But you know there's nowhere justice can't reach. And David? He had already mobilized his army of lawyers. But Ryan's fraudulent invoices, Novatech's tax evasion, and embezzlement records, those weren't things that could be swept under the rug. The first official statement from the SEC confirmed that the investigation was now fully underway. That night, Laura and I watched the news in silence. Novatech's name flashed across the screen. The company I once proudly worked for was now at the center of a national scandal. Then, the next morning, the doorbell rang again. But this time, it wasn't David standing outside. It was Sarah Lee. She held a folder, a quiet smile on her face. The board met, she said. Your stance throughout this process, your courage, your unwavering ethics, made an impact on everyone. We have an offer for you. I opened the folder. Title: Novatech, Chief Security Officer Appointment Request. I looked at Sarah in shock. Is this a joke? No, Jack, she said. This is a beginning. We're rebuilding Novatech, a system where integrity is as strong as its software, and it starts with you. In that moment, years of exhaustion lifted from my shoulders. But I had one condition. Every employee will attend a monthly transparency training, no exceptions. Sarah nodded. Agreed. The next day, I moved into my new office, not in my old corner, but by the window. A simpler, more meaningful desk. On it sat two things: Lily's World's Best Dad mug, and the wooden plaque Laura had gifted me, engraved with the words, King of Code, Jack Carter. A deep sense of peace washed over me. But peace didn't mean complacency, it meant responsibility. Because no matter how much systems change, betrayal always searches for an open door. There was a file on my desk. Title: Next Generation Security Protocol, Code Name Guardian 2.0. Below it, Sarah's note. You taught this company that security is more than just code. Keep going. I lifted my head. In front of me, a young team was hard at work. The system that once dismissed them as old-fashioned was gone. Now they had a new example to follow, a leader who walked with the quiet strength of experience and the unshakable backbone of ethics. That day, I led the first training session. Topic: To protect a system, first understand yourself. I didn't just teach them about firewalls and encryption algorithms. I told them the first rule. Security starts with character, not fear. By the end of the week, the system had been rebuilt. A new manifesto titled Open Contract was uploaded to the company's internal network. Every employee digitally signed the new ethical codes. The full map of David and his family's fraud network was publicly released by the SEC. Novatech was no longer just a tech giant. It had become a symbol of the fight for digital integrity. Sarah took over as CEO. In her first meeting, she said, Our goal is not just growth, but the right kind of growth. Emily remained overseas. No one knew when justice would finally catch up to her. But justice isn't only served in courts. It is etched into the memory of people. And now, I was the one preserving that memory. Not as Jack Carter, but as the keeper of code. Months passed. One day, I received a message on my phone. Sarah. How about a coffee at Pike Place? Let's discuss the new protocol. I smiled, grabbed my jacket, picked up my mug. As I stepped out the door, Laura called after me, Don't be late this time. The sky was clear outside. As I walked through the streets of Seattle, I left behind the shadows of my past, one by one. Mistakes, betrayals, silences. They had all led me here. And now I was writing a new definition of security, one that protected not just systems but people. Because in the end, I had learned one truth. Code protects a system, but character protects a society. That's my story, friends. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.